one of the great things that's come out of this, what's going on in the earth just now with coronavirus, is it's really brought everybody together, because it doesn't matter where you are in your evolutionary stage or where you are on the planet, what language you speak, or whatever it is. Everybody's having similar experiences, and everybody is starting to recognize we're all in this together. This is something that affects everybody. And so it sounds, on the surface, it seems like we are splitting apart and everybody's breaking up and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. What's really going on is, on the surface, there's a readjustment, because there's an undertone where we are coming together in a way that we've never came together before.
What's up, supporters? Thank you for tuning in to episode 6 of Support Sister. I am your host, Anya Day. Join me as I interview Neil Allen, an energy healer and channeler. We talk about what channeling is and how to access different channeled states. We also cover the grounds of this cosmic reshuffle that's currently happening and how to navigate it. I had so much fun connecting with Neil, and I know you will too. Please like, share, and subscribe this video. Much love. All right, what up, people? What up, world? Today, I wanted to bring on Neil Allen. We met through this wonderful device called Facebook. And just a quick background on Neil. He is a channeler, energy healer, and also hypnotherapist, yes?
I've done hypnotherapy in the past. It's not something I'm doing now, but I have done it in the past.
Yes, and you run Unity One, which is a spiritual community workshop online.
Right, so Unity One, there's myself and my friend Julie Louise who work through Unity One. We're both channelers, and we have a community through Unity One. And within the community, there's a lot of spiritual development classes that take place. There's meditations. It's like a place where people can come and they can grow spiritually. So
that's cool.
Myself and Julie, we operate within the community. So that's basically what that is. Let's
dive quickly to what you do. Like, could you break down what channeling is?
Okay, so channeling is a state that we go into in our day-to-day lives. Everybody goes into channeled states. We don't call it channeled states, okay, but we all go into a channeled state. So it's a natural experience that we go into during our lives, during our day-to-day lives. And when you don't realize you're slipping into a channeled state when you go into it. But it can feel a bit strange if you go into a deep channeled state, or I like to call it a trance state. If you go into a deep trance state, you can recognize it when you come out of it, because you come out of it and you're like, what have I just been doing? So anytime you get that sort of feeling like, oh, God, how did that happen? Like, how many times have you drove home at night? If you drive a car and you get there and you're like, how did I get there? Like, I cannot remember that drive. And it's because you're going into a trance state, because you're driving in the road, you're looking at the white line going on, and you go into a trance state, and you just go into within your head, and you just go into your thoughts. It also happens when you're watching TV. How many times you've seen somebody watch TV, or have had it happen yourself, where you're watching TV and somebody's like, Anya, 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 and you're like, you just can't hear them because you're so focused on the TV, because you go into a type of channel trance state. And this is what a channel state is. It's where you go into, or a trance state is where you become so focused on something, everything else seems to sort of fade away, and it's just you and that thing that exists, and you're so focused on it. It's just that's your world. And so channeling, the idea of channeling is where you allow yourself to go into a trance state, and by going into that trance state, you are able to then have energy or information flow into your consciousness. And sometimes that information will flow straight through you. Some people, like myself, were more conscious, call it a conscious channeler, where you're in less of a trance state, where it's me, and I'll quickly put myself into a trance state. I'll tap in, I'll allow the energy to flow to me, and then I'll convey the information myself. Mm-hmm. So
go ahead.
That's what that was just.
Okay.
I was going to say that's what channeling is.
So is that kind of like related to like how there's like different brain waves, like theta, alpha, beta?
Yeah, that's right. That's totally right. So the brain state that you go into when you're in a channeled state is a gamma state.
Okay.
That's the state that your brain is in. So it's not just like musicians get this a lot. You know, how many times you heard a musician say like, "Oh yeah, the song it just wrote itself," and it's because they're just opening their consciousness up, and the information's flowing to them, and it just flows straight through them, and they just write this song. It's just there. It's the reason that it's just there is because it actually is just there. They'll get the information all just coming to them at once, and then it'll slowly come through them. You know, they may get a dumpy information, and it'll slowly come out of them, and it's all there at once, because that's the way information works. It's not when you're tapping in and getting information, it's just there. Information is constantly exists within creation. So it's just a case of you accessing that information because it's already there.
So how do we tap in to this information channel state?
So most people are doing this all the time. You're tapping into information all the time. You're getting information when you're in your day-to-day state from other layers of your own consciousness. And also it's as if there's you could say like an internet. That's sort of what it's like. And there's streams of information that are going, same like Wi-Fi. There's like streams of information which you hear channelers say this, that you can tap into. You tap into it and you get the information, or they go to the Akashic records. It's just another concept. They're doing the same thing. They're just tapping into the streams of energy and getting this streams of energy or energy from source. There's different ways that people do this. There's different techniques that people use to get themselves into a trance state. So the key is finding what works for you. I mean, just simply by going into meditation, you're starting to go into a type of channeled state. You can easily go into meditation, and you can easily get, if you set an intention before you go into the meditation, that you want to get information on something, you can go into meditation and you'll receive that information. So it's a type of channeled state. It's really finding the way it works for you, because everybody's got different ways. Some people will be able to paint and they'll be able to go into a channeled state when they're painting, you know, and they'll get the flow going that way. It doesn't always have to be information. It can be other things, you know. Sports people do it as well. They just get into a flow in their life. Anytime you're in like a flow, you know, and time sort of stops and you're just so focused on it, and you come here and you're like, God, what have I been doing for the last few hours? And you're just and when you're doing it, it seems easy to do. It seems effortless. You get this a lot when you first start learning to do things. You know, I went to go and do I went to learn pottery at one stage, and I was coming into the class and I was like, God, I was in a channel state there. I knew because I'd been like spending 2-3 hours, and the time would go like that. You know, you'd be like, God, is that time already? You're so focused on it. And the reason it happens when you're learning new things, especially things you like, is because you're getting a flow of information that's giving you assistance on how to do that how to complete that new task, how to learn how to do that. So the way to do it is you have to really just find the way that it works for you. That's really the way. Opening up, learning how to open yourself up, because that's all you're really doing is opening up. But there's so many ways you can open up. You can do it through meditation, toning. You know, you could be doing it through you could even exercise, and then after you've exercised, because after you exercise, you're in this floaty place. You could do it then. You know, there's so many different ways you can do it, and it's really finding the way that it works for you and finding what you're attracted to, and that's the way to learn how to do it. So
get into channeling.
So the way that I got into channeling, I knew I'd spent a lot of time meditating. I spent about a year meditating like 2-3 times a day. And then during that time, I had discovered what channeling was, but I had no interest in doing it myself. I had a dream once, a very vivid dream that I became lucid in, where I was in a building, this white building, and it was like the walls sort of like glowing, and there was this female there, this tall female woman, and she was teaching me how to do this strange thing with energy, where it was like looping energy around, where I was putting energy out of myself and it was coming back in. She told me, you can channel, you've got the ability to channel. And I was like, all right. And then I realized there was loads of other people around me that were also learning to do stuff, and it was like a school, and that's what snapped me out of it. I thought, this is like the X-Men or something, and it snapped me out because I thought this is like a movie, and I realized it's a dream. And I became lucid. So even after I had that dream, I thought it was strange afterwards, because I had no interest in channeling at all. It's not something that I wanted to do. I started getting interested in other channelers, and I started getting interested in some of the information about the history of humanity, like the true history of humanity. And so I decided that I would start trying to write up a document on the true history of humanity. And I was looking for somebody that could channel information about a group of beings called the Anunnaki. They're quite famous now, the Anunnaki. And so there was only one person I could find. It was a guy called Ivan Teller. And Ivan Teller's a channeler. Okay, so I started watching his stuff, and I realized that people could actually go to he was doing events online, and he was doing it in a room sort of similar to Zoom. It wasn't Zoom at the time. And I was able to go to these events, and you could ask questions. So I started going to that event, started asking questions. And from that, I then started getting involved in channeling, and then like in other people channeling. And then I started getting this urge to do it myself. So I just tried it myself, and then it sort of snowballed. Because it gets addictive in the beginning. Because when you're channeling information, especially when you're trance channeling, you're taking the energy fully within you, and it feels incredible when the energy comes within you. Certain beings especially feels really, really good. So it can become quite addictive in the beginning. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
That's cool. And so you mentioned the true history of mankind and the Anunnaki. Could we briefly touch up on that? Like, what was like one quick takeaway from that?
Okay, so you want me to explain a bit about what I believe happened? Okay, so the true history of humanity. So there was a group of beings called the Anunnaki, and the Anunnaki, they are on a planet, and this planet is in orbit with the Earth, but it goes in like this huge orbit. I think it goes outside of our solar system through many other solar systems, and it comes back round and orbits the Earth. And these beings, they wanted to harvest the gold that was on Earth, because they had a problem with their planet's atmosphere. It started breaking down. I don't know why it started breaking down, but it started breaking down, and they needed gold to put gold into their atmosphere to repair it. Same like our ozone layer. Our ozone layer's same idea, and we could do the same here. The scientists know this now. They know that if we put gold into the atmosphere, it'll repair it. And so they had the same problem, and they didn't have any gold on their planet, so they came to our planet to harvest it. Now, there was a group of them that came here. It wasn't the whole species. There was a group of them got sent here to do this. And when they got sent here to do this, they started mining themselves, and they realized after a while that they didn't like doing that work. And so they looked for some of the indigenous species that were on the planet, and there was humanoid species on the planet. There was us when we were at a very primitive stage, and they took us and they genetically modified us with their genes to advance us to the stage where they could start using us as workers within the mines. And so they started using us as workers in their mines, and then they came to a point where they realized what they were doing was wrong, and then they advanced us. They genetically advanced us to another stage where we were more independent, and then they also taught us how to establish certain societies on our planet, how to set up the foundational aspects of a society, how to do farming, how to set up sort of societal structures and these sort of ideas. And that's basically where we evolved from. So that's the basic story of it.
So do you think that like right now there's kind of been this collapse of what the Anunnaki had created with like this current great reset that's happening?
Yeah. So what happened is when the Anunnaki created us, they didn't want us to be. They had created us in the beginning to be workers. So we had that imprinted into our consciousness that we had to serve. Okay. So that was one thing they had imprinted in us. When they upgraded us, they made the upgrade, but they didn't want us to be. There's talk about this in the Bible. There's some quotation where man created us. I can't remember what it is. They didn't want to make us equals to them. They wanted it to be that they were still had superiority over us, and to do that, they had to sort of switch off these markers in our DNA. They're there within our DNA, but they're dormant. And now what's happening is we're coming to a point in our history or our evolution where these markers are starting to get switched back on, and that's what's happening. We're becoming more spiritual, we're becoming more aware, we're becoming more connected to source. Our abilities, our spiritual abilities are all starting to come out. So that's what's happening in our evolutionary cycle, and that's tied in with, oh God, it's to do with the way that the earth cycle is, the energy that's happening on the earth and such. So it wasn't that they failed so much. They have how can I put this? They just didn't want us to be equal to them, because they didn't want to have a rivalry, you could say. They didn't have somebody that was equal to them. They always wanted to be better than us in some way. And so it wasn't that they have failed in what they've done. It's more that we're going through an evolutionary cycle, but by us going through it, there's also some effect that this has upon them as well, because we are genetically connected to them, and there's many other species we are connected to as well. So as we go through this evolutionary cycle, this evolutionary upgrade, you could say, we affect many other races because of this.
Wow. We truly are all connected.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Earth especially, because Earth is like a conglomerate of it's had a lot of different species that have been here, and a lot of different species that are within our DNA, because even after the Anunnaki had been here, there was more genetic modification that took place by different races. So humans are very much like connectors of many different species. We're a conglomerate of many different species, and we connect through their DNA to them all. So as we upgrade, they all get an evolutionary upgrade as well. So Earth's a very, very seen upon as being like a very special place.
It's like a melting pot, like everyone hangs out here.
That's right. It's not just a melting pot of it's like a theme that Earth has. It's not just a melting pot of all these different species, but it's also extremely diverse Earth and the societies that we have on our planet. You look at all the different things that the different sort of groups that you could be in on the planet is so extremely diverse. And so this is something that humanity, or the theme that the Earth has. It's a connection, and it's extremely diverse. You know, it's got a lot of different things going on.
Yeah.
So it's bringing all these things. It's having explorations, a lot of different things, and then bringing them all together into one.
Yeah. And do you think, like, because of all of that's happened, it kind of just like lowered the frequency of Mother Gaia to like become so dense?
Okay, what I believe is that that we are going through, Gaia and us are synchronized. So when this happened with the Anunnaki, the vibration of Gaia, it wasn't that it affected the vibration and kept it down. We were in sync with it. It just all happened synchronistically. And that's why we're starting to awaken more, is because Gaia's starting to go through its changes. And as Gaia goes through her changes, it affects us. But it's also the opposite way around. It's happening in a synchronistic way, because we are also starting to evolve as a species, and we are also affecting Gaia. So we're both affecting each other, and it evolves, and it gets more and more amplified. So we should never ever look at what's happened with us where history, because we've had a very, very dark history. We should never ever look at that as being something that was, how can I put it? We shouldn't look at it as negative so much. We shouldn't look at it as like that was something that should never have happened, or it was a bad thing that happened to us, or that the Anunnaki did this to us, because humanity wanted to go through this. They wanted, on a higher level, we wanted to have this experience where we would put ourselves down into the darkness, and we would go through all these real dark, heavy experiences, because we knew that by doing that, we would get a huge amount of experience, a huge amount of experiential knowledge and understanding from that. And then once we were finished with that, once we had got as much knowledge as we could out of it all, then we would change things, and we would become positive. And that's where we are now. We're at this changing point now. And it takes a very, very strong souls to do this, to be able to come and to experience that. It takes different types of souls at different times. Certain souls that can experience the negativity, but the time we're in right now, the turning point, it takes a very specific type of soul to be able to come here and to be able to create the transformation. You have to be very powerful, very, very, very strong to do this. So every human on the planet has got this ability to do this, to transform. And it's a very unique ability, very, very powerful aspect of a soul.
Yeah.
So
it's very taxing.
It's really challenging. But the thing is, the better that we get at transforming, the less difficult it gets, because we're able to then see negative situations and transform them real quick. And that's the real theme that we're all going through, is that we're learning how to be absolute masters at transforming ourselves and transforming negative into positive.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
To quickly jump back to channeling. So you've mentioned that you've channeled elementals before, right?
Yeah, so what we're doing just now, and within the community, we have a theme that goes on each month. Mm-hmm. Now we choose the members choose a theme, and that theme, we explore that theme. So we'll channel information about it. Also do a channeled meditation about it that allows the members to connect more with those beings, or sometimes it's a concept. So this month, the theme this month is the elementals and the nature spirits. So I have connected with them in the past, because when I first started channeling, I did a lot of experimentation with channeling, and I have connected with a lot of elemental beings in the past, but it's not something that I do all the time, but I have done it before, yes.
Are elementals like earthly beings, like fairies and stuff?
That's right. So elementals, they exist in a slightly different dimension to ours, extremely connected to the earth. They're almost like a part of the earth's consciousness. If you understand that the earth has its own consciousness, a conscious being, and this is almost like an extension of its consciousness manifested into beings, where the same like the cells in your body, they're a part of your system, and they have, in a way, their own consciousness.
And so then obviously they're going through this whole big shift too, since we're all on this.
Yeah, that's right. They're also going through a type of transformation as well.
Oh my gosh.
A type of evolution.
That's so crazy.
As well. But it's not just the elementals. There's many other beings on many other planets as well. Yeah, even the animals on our planet, they'll all go through a type of evolution as well, an evolutionary cycle. And so you see how important humans actually are. We don't give ourselves enough credit for who we are. And I'm not saying that we should give ourselves credit in an egotistical way, but we should appreciate who we are, because a lot of people, especially in spiritual communities, a lot of people feel that this isn't this isn't who they really are, and they don't want to be human. They're not proud of being human. But you should always be proud of who you are. You should always be proud of being human, because we have got this amazing ability to transform, and through us transforming, we will affect many other species positively, many other consciousnesses positively, like billions and billions beyond our imagination.
It's crazy, because like the power is all within inside of you, but like because of societal programming and all of that stuff, like you get so fogged up in the external, and kind of growing up, you just forget the internal and like the power within it. And it's just like, what?
That's right, but that's amazingly exciting when you think about it, because what you're doing is you're creating, you put yourself through that so that you can then transform it, because you know that you can do it. That's why you've done it. And that's an exciting thing to be able to when you think of that whole concept. Different when you're living it out, of course, but to step back and think of that, like you're putting yourself through all this stuff, and you're making this mess, so that you can then untangle it and create something even better than what it was in the beginning. That's exciting.
Yeah. It's like we all agreed to come down here to learn about self-mastery.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's a really exciting thing.
Very exciting.
Yes.
Very tumultuous. Very masochistic. Yeah. I look up sometimes and I'm like, why did I decide to come down here?
Yeah. It can get like that at times, but there's always an answer. Like, and it's good that you're doing that. It's good that you're opening up and you're looking for an answer, because your highest self, the core part of you, the you have a core part of you that's your guide, you could say, that not your external guide, but your guide, your inner consciousness, your inner conscious guide, and that will help you to find the answers about your life, like why things are happening. And so by opening up the possibility that there has to be some reason for it, the answers will come.
Yeah.
When you start thinking that it's things are a burden, or that this isn't fair, or all these sort of, this lowers you, and it closes up the communication from yourself, because you have all the answers there inside you. It's all within your core. It's just allowing it to be open and allowing that information to come out. So,
and trusting that information, because sometimes
yes.
I feel like you can, if in the beginning, like it's like kind of a struggle to realize, is this my ego mental monkey mind chattering telling me, or is this like the actual, higher self telling me? Like for me, it was hard to differentiate in the beginning of what was what.
Yeah, that's right. Because that's part of it's like you're saying, the programming, if you want to call it programming, that you've had from when you've been younger, that you shouldn't listen to yourself, that you have to get the information externally. And but it's okay though, because what happens is you actually reinforce it even more, because by you being told that's wrong, and then having to come to your own conclusion that, no, wait a minute, that's right, you have more trust in yourself then than you would have before. You then have more trust in yourself, because you're right, you're recognizing you're right, and the things that are outside of you that you've been told are wrong. So you then listen to yourself even more. So it amplifies that. And that's a big thing. As part of the reason that we put ourselves through negative experiences, because it amplifies it. It makes the change, when you create the change, it creates it more than it could have been.
Yeah. I personally feel like the more I started listening to myself, I felt like I was going crazy for like a brief moment in time where I was like, oh my God, like I can't be right. Like, and it was just like this inner battle, but then finally like accepting it for the truth. You're like, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Because you've been told all your life that it's this concept that humanity has, that you've got these voices in your head, you've got the voices in your head, the people in the white coats are going to come and take you away and fucking all this stuff. So it's that idea, it's all these like old ideas. But and you're saying what you're saying there, where you're saying, and then I started listening to it, it felt true. And that's because you're coming into your true, it's a true belief that you had a false belief before, and you've come into your own truth.
Yeah. I am convinced that we are all in this like simulation computer game, and there's like different levels, different lessons, and like you have to depending on how many levels you want.
I remember when I was young, and I remember getting this concept. It's like a simulation. It's like you're in a simulation, and it's like there's a how can I put it? It's like you're saying, it's like a computer game, and it was like there was like a challenge that you had to get over. If you don't get over it, it's going to happen again, and it's going to keep happening again until you get over it, until you work it out.
Yeah.
And it's so true. It's a lot of people are understanding it this way, that it's a simulation, and it is a simulation in a way, but it's a simulation created by you. It's not so much you're the computer.
Yes. Ooh. Yeah, and I could also like point it out to like you're the actor, writer, script, producer, and director of your own movie.
Yeah, that's right. It's other layers of your consciousness that are responsible for some of these things that you're talking about, for setting up the themes of the story, and for setting up the stage, and for all these things, so you don't have to do that. You're just you're one of the actors, if you want. You know what I mean? You're one of the ones that are there. You're the one that's there having the experience within it.
How do we change the story if we don't like the story?
You change the story by what you believe to be true about the story. That's how you change the story. Most people are looking for the story, the actual reality to change. But the reality is not going to change. It's you that has to change the lens that you're looking at the reality through. And that lens is your beliefs. So you have you have true beliefs, and these true beliefs, they are synchronized with the truth of creation, or all truth. Okay, so these are true beliefs. Now, you also have false beliefs. And it's when you have false beliefs, then you're taking the false belief lens, when you're looking through the false belief lens, doesn't look nice and doesn't feel nice. And so...
No, it doesn't. Go ahead.
And so that's the way you change it. You change it by, identifying what these false beliefs are and reforming them to a true belief, so you can then look at the reality through the truth, and you get a positive effect from that.
Yeah. I have, like, for navigating when I think something is, my inner guide speaking to me versus the mental monkey mind, I developed a system which also kind of made me feel like I was crazy. And actually my therapist told me that I sounded schizophrenic when I told her, so I stopped seeing her. But I created like a clear audio system. So like if I hear a honk or something, like it was my confirmation that I was like, that I could trust the source that was coming for me, like the information. Like, do you have something like that where you have like either like a clear audio or whatever?
Not so much, but that what you're talking about there, it can work, absolutely, because one of the ways that your guides will work with you is your guides will direct your attention to certain things. Or if you're setting up a system like that, what can happen is your guides will then, they know what's about to happen, so they'll give you the information just as a honk's about to come, or they'll show you numbers, these sort of things. We get this happening. So the guide, they can act in that way. So you made the right choice by stopping seeing that therapist. Yeah, because you're starting to listen to yourself now. There's a big step that for you if you're starting to do it, because you're no longer listening to them anymore. You're listening to you, and that's a good thing. It's a real milestone that for you then, because you're starting to believe in yourself.
Yeah, it could be kind of like a lonesome journey, I feel like, in the beginning, because like you start realizing, oh my God, this thing is not me, and then you start clearing that away. And with that came like a whole entity of friendships and habits and behaviors. And then just like clearing that, at least for me, I was just like, who am I? Like, these things are not me.
Yes, because what's happened is you identify, your self-identity is completely changed. So it's like you go through a type of death, and you're having to, like, who am I now? And who is this new person that I am? And it is actually happening. You do go through a type of real shift where you actually do become, everybody's experienced this. Like, you think who you were when you were like younger, you're not the same person. You're just not the same person. It's a different person.
Yeah.
And we do this in our life. We change who we are. We change a lot.
Yeah.
It's happening more now than it used to. It's speeding up, where you can see the changes happening much faster than who I am this year is not who I was last year. You know what I mean? It's getting
wholeheartedly.
faster. So,
yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's just like we're all on like this acceleration course, and it's pivoting us to these different timelines.
Yeah, that's right. Because what's happening is we're going through, we're evolving. So it was a slow evolution before, and it's getting faster and faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, and I can't go ahead.
And I was going to say, our vibration, as we evolve, our vibration is going up as well. So it's reflective of that as well, because your reality is a reflection. Your body's part of your reality as well, your identity.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I just can't imagine for like people who are, still dipping their toes into like the spirit world, like they're probably like, what is happening right now? Like,
they'll have a different experience. A different experience, but you have to recognize that even those people are going through they're going through their own type of evolution, or their own type of progression. And it's just happening in a different way from you. If you think back to what it was like before you had sort of woken up, people call it waking up. Before you had woken up, there was certain little things that happened that sort of got you spurred and started that change within you. And that's how a lot of these people will be experiencing it. In a way, it's going to be easier, all these changes, for the people who have already woken up, because they don't have to they've not taken on these new, they're able to put these experiences that are happening for everybody now into some type of context, and to understand what's going on. There's big changes going on. And one of the great things that come out of this, what's going on the earth just now with coronavirus is it's really brought everybody together, because it doesn't matter where you are in your evolutionary stage or where you are on the planet, what language you speak, or whatever it is. Everybody's having similar experiences, and everybody is starting to recognize we're all in this together. This is something that affects everybody. And so it sounds, on the surface, it seems like we are splitting apart and everybody's breaking up and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. What's really going on is, on the surface, there's a readjustment, because there's an undertone where we are coming together in a way that we've never came together before, and that's readjusting the outside. So you'll see a lot of people are having problems in their families. There's family breakups, mm-hmm. there's relationship breakups, mm-hmm. there's friendship breakups, mm-hmm. there's all manner of stuff, and it's a reshuffle that's going on the surface.
Yeah.
So it seems chaotic, and it is chaotic, but after the reshuffle takes place, things are a little bit more set in place where more progress can happen from that, because people are starting to, they're starting to align up with people that they resonate with. They're starting to connect, and the people that they're not, that they don't connect with so much are starting to fall away, or the people that are not, how can I put it? It's like you're talking about, we're all getting on our own timelines.
Yeah.
And the way that happens is by certain relationships splitting and certain relationships forming. Sometimes the relationships have to split way before the new ones form, because they have to pave the way for the new relationships to take place. They have to open a space for it.
Yeah. So. I was just about to ask you about timelines, because we could be on so many at the same time, but like how to choose to be on the best, highest aligned one.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's such an interesting concept where, like, when you start thinking of timelines, you can have somebody that lives next door. You could have a block mm-hmm. of flats. I mean, and everybody, it's in all mm-hmm. these different apartments. They are all completely different realities. Their lives are not the same. And this is what I was saying is interesting about coronavirus, because it bridges all of these together in some way. It pulls all of them together in some way. But it's like it pulls them together. But it's like I was saying, there's also a readjustment that goes on. So even though we're going on different timelines, there's still that humanity connecting together as one at the same time. So the way that you do it, the way that you want to get on the sort of path that you, or the timeline, if we want to call it a timeline, that concept, the way to get on the one that's right for you is, how can I explain this? The way to do this is to be true to yourself. And the more true that you can be to yourself, the more true the path that you'll be on. So it's identifying the truth in you and identifying the false beliefs in you that are trying to pretend to be true beliefs.
Yeah. And just trusting yourself.
Yeah. More trust. Yeah, absolutely. If you don't trust, if you have to have self-trust, because if you don't trust yourself, you're the only one that's going to do your own personal development. Mm-hmm. And you're the only one that's got the true guiding light within you, your highest self. It's your highest self. Nobody's going to come up to you and say to you, by the way, your highest self is telling you to go in that direction. You might get little bits. If you go to a channel, they'll give you little bits, but the vast majority is up to you to be able to do that. And so you have to trust it, mm-hmm. because you're the best guide you've ever got. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Always will be.
And it's easy to even get swept up with being around other people who may not even have the best interest in mind for you, who are just in it for themselves, harnessing your energy for their own nefarious purposes. So it's kind of you have to really navigate these tricksters.
Yeah, and we have to be aware of as well why we are, what is it that we truly want? And is it a false belief that's causing us to seek out certain situations or certain relationships? Mm-hmm. So there's that identification all comes back to the belief, like the true belief, or is it a false belief that's causing us to act a certain way. And the more that you can come into harmony with your higher self and have the true beliefs, then you'll know which way is the right way to go. So yeah, I could totally relate to what you're saying, being in environments with people that you don't like, because I've had that happen to me recently as well, and it doesn't feel nice. And it's extremely beneficial for you to move away from those experiences and those environments, because there's something going on there where you're not feeling yourself. You're putting yourself somewhere where you're not feeling yourself, and there must be a reason for you doing that. So it's identifying the reason, but also having the action to move yourself in a different direction, because when you move in a different direction and you're around people that you're in harmony with, you're coming more into harmony with yourself and with your core highest self as well, because they all harmonize together. And this is like we were saying, there's a lot of this going on just now on the planet with, all the relationship things that are going on. So yeah. It's absolutely spot on.
So quickly back to channeling.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, because it's you can go off track.
I know. No, this has been fun. There's so much to cover.
Talk about. Yeah.
What has been like the most craziest like channeling experience you personally had? If
crazy channeling experience,
or notable, or whatever, something like that.
I don't know. When I first started channeling, I used to experiment a lot. I've had like quite physical experiences before where I channeled a being once, and I stayed in a house, and in this house it had like a wooden staircase, like a hollow wooden staircase, so it was like really loud when you walked up and down the stairs. And I started channeling this being, and my partner, she was in bed upstairs. It was in the morning, and she came down the stairs as I was channeling. I was in like a trance state, my eyes closed, and then when I finished, she wasn't downstairs, and I went up and she was sleeping. And I says to her later, I says, "What did you come downstairs for earlier?" And she said, "I never came downstairs." And I was like, "You did so? I heard you come downstairs." She's like, "No way." So things like that, when you have things like that happen, you're like, "Wow, that was incredible." Like, it gets really exciting, eh? So yeah, things like that. Yeah, it's good in the beginning where you start getting a lot of confirmations. You start channeling information, and then you get the confirmations back, people telling you like, "I don't know how you knew that, because I've never told anybody things like that before." And it's really exciting in the beginning, because it's all new, and you're realizing like your ability, that this ability that you can do that, and it's just as astonishing for you as it is for the people you're channeling information for. So
we all have superpowers.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Humans, like we think that's like some ordinary whatever thing, but like a lot of people have like these innate healing powers that they could tap into, like, or whatever it is.
Yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot that we are seeing. There's this resistance going on just now within humanity, because there's parts of us that are starting to recognize this, and then there's other parts that are still part of the sort of the old systems that are still trying to hold on to that, and there's a change going on. So but yeah, we're starting to recognize that it's getting much more popular now. There's a lot of doctors, and Joe Dispenza's coming out and talking a lot about our feeling abilities and things like that, and it's getting very difficult for sort of the mainstream or the academics to be able to argue against these things now. So it's accelerating, and it's getting really exciting, and it's going to be good when we actually get to the point where this is sort of bled through into the whole of humanity, and it's more widely accepted. We're getting very, very close to it already. It's getting close to that stage already, where it's more in the mainstream now.
Yeah, there's like those like mainstream like news networks, for instance. I feel like you could like see them like collapsing one at a time, just like slowly, like you could see the dissolution.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how all that changes. That'll be interesting.
I know. I can't wait.
Yeah, but the news, it's an interesting thing, because what's going to be replaced with the news, because people like bad news. That's the thing. What does it get replaced with as well? And I'm not saying that it can't get better, because it can get a lot better, but it's going to be interesting to see how all that happens, because yes, it's so ingrained into our society, news. And personally, I don't watch the news. I just don't watch it at all. It's too negative for me. I don't like the way it feels. And I know that there's so much subliminal messaging in it. And even if you don't take on board what they're saying, you're still being affected by these words that they're saying over and over and over, because you do things like this in hypnosis,
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't like it at all. It's not for
Neither do
me.
I.
And it's so interesting. I've been thinking about this concept lately, because we're getting now, it works in a sort of counteractive way, the news, because the news, they're putting out, everybody sort of understands, it's become mainstream understanding now that there is fake news, and that wasn't true 5 years ago. All right, so there's fake news now. So the news, it's not really somewhere where you go to get accurate information. So, and it's such a main thing in our society. Like in the UK, the news is on, like, you can watch it like three times a day on one channel.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people that do that. They wake up in the morning, put the news on, it's on in the afternoon, and then they watch it in the evening. So it's such a big part of a lot of people's lives, but they're starting to understand that that's not real anymore. And so that's a big element of our society that's no longer real. It's illusionary. And we're also starting to delve into things like things that the politicians are saying, that we're understanding that on a more a global scale now, and it's much more transparent, that the things that they're not saying is true, that's illusionary. And that's a big structure within a human society. Now, also on top of that, we've got AI that's starting to come in. And AI is no really, it's in a way, it's not a real consciousness. It's an illusionary consciousness as well, in a way. We've also got virtual reality starting to come in. And that's a reality that's not a real reality as such. And so all these things are starting to come into play into our society, and they're starting to get amplified. And as soon we're going to come to the stage where it's going to be like everybody's going to be in question about what actually is this? What is reality? And we're getting close to there already, but it's going to become a hot topic. It will become a hot topic where people are discussing this. And I think that's more sort of the direction that news channels are going to go in, where people are going to drift more towards, like, people that are discussing these sort of concepts and discussing ideas like this. Mm-hmm. And when we get to the stage where a good chunky society, or human society, is questioning what is reality, we're going to be in a very interesting place as a species. Very, very interesting.
Lord, have mercy.
In a good way, I mean, because the reality then becomes more malleable, if you like, or it becomes, more fluid. When it doesn't, because people think reality is a solid structure, and it's very foundational, and it's like, it's real. But once we start getting into the concept of like, what is it and what is real, and what, and we're getting there. These ideas are slowly starting to get introduced by the breakdown of a lot of these structures, like, the breakdown of the governments and the way they function, which is starting to become more transparent in the media and so on and so forth. So
it's a circus that's happening right now.
Yeah. But it's exciting as well.
It's a fun circus. Yeah. I mean, like, I think people that have kind of stepped away from that, mainstream thing, they're kind of like, okay, but like, for the people still wearing those lenses, they're just going to be like, what just happened? Like the ultimate red pill from the Matrix.
Will be when things get more accelerated and more amplified within society with all the changes, there will be some people, if they're really trying to hold on to that, they'll find it very, very difficult. And the people that are like that are the academics, a lot of people who go to universities and colleges and things like that. And the reason for that is because they are identifying with their knowledge. They have went through university and they've got a PhD or whatever they've done, and they are proud of that they've went through all of that, and they identify with that. So it's the same as I was going back to before. They feel like a part of them is dying. If that wasn't to be true, then it's a part, and this happens on a subconscious level, a part of them would be dying. So they are in survival mode even if they can see that that's not quite right. You know, some archaeologists can see that there's something not right here. They'll still try and protect themselves subconsciously, and so they'll defend it. So that's why these are the people that will find it the hardest to change in society. They'll be the ones that really hold on to it, and it'll be very, very, very traumatic for them, some of this.
Yeah, because they're like, I've been living a lie.
Yeah, that's right.
Lie.
That's exactly it. Yeah, they've been living a lie, and that they're a lie in a way. They've been pumping out.
They're
lying.
That's true. That's true.
Oh.
I was gonna say what was interesting also with like the whole reality thing is like, you know, with big tech and the algorithms, like whatever you click, they will continue to pump up that type of news information outlet to you. So if you believe in XYZ conspiracies, that's just going to shape your reality. You're just going to continue consuming algorithmic XYZ conspiracies, and that's going to shape your palette as well.
Yeah, that's right, because now we're all starting to recognize, this is the beginning of us recognizing that we all have our own reality that we live in.
Yeah.
You know, everything you're getting shown on social media is aligned to who you are and what your interests are, and what I'm getting shown on social media is. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's the beginning of that.
On a global
scale. Yeah. See, a lot of technology, what happens with technology with humans is the technology is showing us as a reflection of our consciousness. And so when we start, the more advanced technology gets, the more we start to understand our consciousness.
Dang. That's the mic drop right there. I was scared of AI personally, but maybe that's just because I've seen too many of those scary movies like the Terminator.
That's right. A lot of it gets projected negatively. It's the same with it's the same with the internet, social media. Social media is the beginning of telepathy. It's the beginning of us getting introduced to being telepathic and always being in communication with somebody. It doesn't matter where they are on the planet, you can connect with them. You can just tap in and connect with them. And it's that beginning of it. When I was first starting to channel, my telepathy got advanced a lot from using social media, from sending text messages with people. And there was so many times I'd send text messages to another channeler and we'd both type exactly the same thing. It happened all the time.
Wow.
So
yeah, I feel like we're going to go into that like mental telepathy society as well. We're not even going to have to do this.
Yeah, eventually we'll get there for sure.
I just want to say, though, I feel a little bit like it's going to be invasive for me, because what if I don't want someone to hear all of my thoughts?
Yeah, but it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And people actually get scared of channelers because of that, especially if you're like just chatting to somebody and you get some information about them and you give it to them. They get really scared because they're like, oh, like that person knows you've just found out everything and they're just telling me one piece of it. And they're like, oh, and I see all this. And they're like, well, I told people before, like, I just get what I get. Is, you know, if I do a reading for somebody, the stuff I'm telling them, that is like, you know, 80% of what I'm getting. There might be 20% of that I'm not saying, but there's just stuff that I've not said because it's not relevant, but I'm giving them pretty much everything that I'm getting. It's not like you read the whole book and then you just say to them some things about themselves. You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that at all. So, yeah.
I was just going to ask, are there like malignant or benevolent entities when you are trying to channel that, like, you know, could mess with you?
So this is a big fear that people have with channeling, especially in the beginning. A lot of people scared that their negative entity is going to come and take over them and possess them, because that's what it all goes back to. It goes back to these old ideas about possession and demon possession, you know, and the exorcist and all that sort of stuff. It's very rare, extremely rare something like that happens. There is negative beings, of course. There's negative beings just like there's negative people. You don't walk about your day-to-day life being scared of negative people, so why be scared of negative beings? And your day-to-day life, you're not scared that you're going to encounter a negative person. I mean, you've got the choice in who you talk to, and if you talk to somebody and you think that they're not a nice person, you would just stop talking to them, or, you know, whatever. you don't have negative beings coming to you. Like, it's not something that you experience very often at all. It's not unless you're sort of putting that out there that you want. And it's the same in life, you know, if you're putting out there that you want to mix with sort of negative people and you want to get into a lot of trouble and, you know, like sort of negative, like you want to carry out a lot of negative actions, you'll start connecting with negative people. So it's the same thing. It's just the same. You don't have, they've not really got that ability to come and jump in you or come and take over you or destroy your soul. Well, these ideas, nothing like that. I know a lot of channelers. I've seen a lot of people channeling, like loads of different people, and never seen anything like that happen.
So people are safe. And people that are curious listening to this, they're safe if they want to dip their toes into channeling.
Yeah, you don't have to be scared of anything like that. A lot of people, in the beginning, if you're scared, which is normal for you to be scared of something like that, excuse me, it's a good way to do it is you can do a technique where maybe you can surround yourself in light, or you can ask an angel to be there, for an angel just to overlook it, or something that makes you feel safe. You know, one of these techniques is usually enough. And I used to do that in the beginning. And then after a while, you just realize that you don't even need to do it. But in the beginning, it is good to do that, just to give yourself that comfort, just to take away the fear, because by releasing the fear, by having something in place to allow that fear to go away, it allows the information to come much more easily. The fear cuts it off almost.
Yeah, it's like the fear doesn't want you to access the information.
Well, what happens is when you feel fear, it's the same in life. If somebody's absolutely terrified, how will their body react to that? They'll usually huddle up, knees up to their chest, and they'll huddle up, because they'll protect themselves. And you do that energetically as well. If you're scared, you close up. So it's the same thing. You can't get information flowing in when you're closed off. You have to open.
Yeah.
So it's just
open those chakras.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So prior to our discussion, I had made a request to do a quick little guided meditation, because you are so awesome at doing them. You did a grounded meditation, and I swear to God, like, my life changed for 2 days. I was just like,
That's good.
So one last question before we dive into the guided meditation. What would you love to see for the world and humanity?
What would I love to see for the world and humanity? What would I love to see? I'm not sure. I don't think that way so much now. I think more about not for myself and me transforming myself. If there was anything that I could say like that would be nice to see, is everybody to love themselves. And that's why I do self-compassion workshops, because it's a real big thing, you know. See, it causes a lot of problems in your life, external problems. And it's one thing that we're all going to have to, humanity is going to have to do at some point. We're all going to have to do it. We're all going to have to love ourselves at some point, because humanity is going through this change. And the only way that we can go through this change from all the negative experiences we've had into having positive experiences is to come back and to love ourselves. It's a huge part of it. It's one of the biggest parts of it. And it'd be nice to see that.
That is an amazing answer. I'm just like giving myself a hug right now, because it shows so much. Because it's true though, like, we forget to love ourselves. Like, that is another thing that's not conditioned in society. You like put other people, you do the people pleasing, and you have like this critic in your mind going on 24/7, 365 if you're not like aware to catch it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we just started doing the workshop this month for the self-compassion workshop within the community. And I just finished the class before we did this interview. I just finished the first class. And it's like you say, it's something we forget to do in our day-to-day lives. And but once you do it, once you come back into loving yourself, you feel so good, because that's the part you've been missing. We usually try to find it externally, the love externally, and find things, you know, find people that love us, or, you know, having pets and things like that, or get self-approval and all these things. And it even goes on to social media, where we're looking for our self-worth that's tied into how many likes we get or things like that. And it's once you start coming back into yourself and start loving yourself, It's a true love. It's a real love, because you're no longer loving yourself out the way and through other things. You're directly loving yourself, and it's not dependent upon anything else. It's just you and yourself, and that's all you need.
That was so awesome. And you don't get attached.
Yeah,
that is
that's
like
right.
the number one thing. Like
That's right.
that external thing is so attached. Like it's so easy
Yep.
to just
Yep.
get locked in versus
Absolutely.
inside.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right. Welcome.
All
Okay.
right.
So
Grounded meditation. Let's go.
grounding meditation. Okay then. All right. So how long do you want me to do this for? Because I can do it. It's up to yourself.
5
Okay.
minutes.
Okay. I'll do a quick 5-minute one again. Okay. All right. When you see me rubbing my hands, it's because like I open up my hand chakras. Because when I start doing this, I'll have energy starting to flow through my body, and I always rub my hands because it opens up my hand chakras. It's just like second nature to me. Okay. Okay, so we just start this meditation off. You can just allow yourself to get nice and comfortable. It's up to yourself how you're lying. You can lie down if you want, or if you want to sit up, you can sit up as well. The most important part about the meditation is that you're feeling very, very relaxed and very, very comfortable. And as you're starting to relax more with the sound of my voice, you may start to notice that all the noises, everything outside of yourself no longer matters, because it's only the sound of my voice that really matters. That's the real truth, your truth. And so, as you start to feel within yourself, you can start to put your energy, put your focus into that area within your pelvis. For within that area, there is a sphere, there is an energy, a deep, deep, deep energy. Dark red this energy is. And the more that you focus on this energy, the more stronger this foundational energy becomes. The more this energy starts to expand out and starts to bleed out down through your legs, this energy slowly moving, this deep, 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 dark red energy flowing now, flowing down your legs, down the calves, and down towards the ground, allowing this energy to envelop your feet, and allowing this energy now to pass through the bottoms of your feet and move down through the floor, through any of the layers that are down below your feet, and allow it to branch out, to reach down towards the earth, and allowing it now to penetrate into the earth, and allowing it to connect there with the ground. As it connects into the ground, it goes deeper still, deeper and deeper and deeper down, flowing down through the layers like the roots of a tree. And as it flows down through the sediment, through the rocks and the soils and the elements that are there and the earth's foundation, you feel it reach down to the core, down into the center of the earth, allowing it to connect there, and allowing it to be part of that sphere, that red ball of energy that resides deep, deep, deep down in the center, the core of the earth. So feeling that connection now with the sphere in the core of the earth, that magma there in the center of the earth, connecting with that sphere that's there, the base, your torso. This connection that you have is always there, always open, allowing the two of you to be one. For you are one, for you and the earth are connected. Always feeling this connection from now on. So as you're listening to my voice now, you can allow yourself to start feeling the rest of your body. You can allow yourself to start feeling the objects in the room around you. And you can have much more of an awareness of the room now. So much awareness now that you can open your eyes when you're ready, and you can feel back to yourself with that connection there, still in place. Thank you, everybody.
Ooh, where can people find you? Thank you so much.
So if you want to find me, I have a website and it's unity-1.org. You can also find Unity 1 on Facebook as well. There's a Facebook page. You can look me up on Facebook. It's Neil Allen. Send me a friend request. And yeah, I do certain events through Facebook. I do talks through Facebook. I also channel at the end of the talks, and they're all done through the Facebook page. So you can find the page if you go to the website, scroll down to the bottom and click on the Facebook link. It'll take you to the page. And if you like the page and follow it, that's how you'll see the events that I do. I usually do one a week, one public one. So thank you very much.